Hey, what's
Good
up?
morning. Good morning.
Good morning. We live, y'all.
Yeah.
It has been a week. John, how was Labor Day?
Labor Day was good. I spent a little time in Lincolnton, North Carolina, having a good time picking stuff out the garden, going on nature walks, and just spending quality time. So it's been good. But it's been a lot going on in Metro. Been a lot going on in Metro.
Man, it's always something going on all over the place. I cooked for Labor Day,
Okay.
labored over the stove. I made homemade biscuits.
Okay.
Let me tell you something. I must have accidentally put a sleeping pill in them because every time I ate one, I needed to take me a nap.
Yeah. It was the itis. It was the itis.
Man, I got itis real bad from them biscuits, man. But
Hmm.
I was so excited about making them. I hadn't made homemade biscuits by myself, but I can remember the time that I used to go to Kentucky and make them with my cousin Patrick Holland. He
Okay.
and he used to bake homemade cookies, and so it just kind of took me back to my childhood memory. So I really enjoyed it.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, we have had a busy week. I mean, we got a great training coming up, but at the end of the month, we have a speaker series with Christian Bugs, who I just saw last night, was selected as the MNPS board chair. So that'll be an interesting conversation.
Yeah, congratulations, Christian Buzz. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's a whole song for that.
And the
Um,
and the vice chair is
the vice chair is Rachel and Elrod.
okay. Congratulations, Rachel and
Mhm.
Rod. Congratulations. I'm hoping that our board gets off to a non-dysfunctional start this year.
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. And what I noticed about Christian, I mean, in accepting the chairwomanship, she talked about like this is a new opportunity with a new board, new leadership to do better than they have done in the past. And so this would be interesting. And then, of course, we had the director's report where she talked about, the questions and then the planning of going back in person.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so sounds like there was a very, very productive
Hmm.
board meeting last night. And just to kind of refresh our parents on the role of a board member, they have three responsibilities. We just kind of want to just make sure that you guys, as parents, also hold them accountable. The one of the responsibilities that they have is to ensure that there is academic achievement
Hmm.
and then monitoring through data, um, and also making sure that they make sure that we're fiscally stable,
Hmm.
have a budget, and then they have one employee and one employee only, and that is Dr. Battle. So they have three things that they have to get done and that they should make their priority at all times. And I'm hoping that they set goals towards those things
Right.
and and ensure that the dysfunction, the loss of focus does
About
not,
kids. Yeah.
doesn't creep in to this board. If they do anything else outside of those three things, then we know that they have lost focus and we have to help them regain focus.
Hmm. And this is going to be an interesting conversation. The past couple of weeks, I mean, we've had really good and robust conversations. Last week, we spoke to Leland Evans as he talked about our fair share, which wasn't educator related, but it was like humanizing where we are as a community due to COVID and some of the things that we can do to bounce back. And before that, I think we talked to Miss Denton. Um, and then it was another
We had Tracy Boyd on there.
yep,
We talked about
Tracy Boyd and Miss, yep.
yeah. So we've had some very, very good discussions. And so guys, I'm going to ask you to do something as you're joining us. If you can like and share this
Yes.
conversation on on your page, that
Hmm.
would be great, so that we can pull everybody on in here. We're up to 20 viewers already, and we're going to have an exciting conversation today. Uh,
Yes.
Real raw, real keen,
Hmm.
as you all like it. I think
Yeah.
we've had a lot of compliments on the way, which is real. Because that's because we're real parents. We're not, well, John's got he's got a little politician in him, but I don't have any politician. I'm just somebody's mom. I'm 4 children. I got 4 children. I'm just their mama. And
Mhm.
and that's the only thing that I know how to do is to be Sonia the mom. So that's why.
Yeah, and I see some parents checking in. Angela is saying, hey, Tony Miller is sharing it out. We appreciate that, Tony. And that's what this one is about, like hearing from parents. There have been some pretty big decisions and changes that are coming to MMPS. And we know one thing that we love to do is hear from parents to make sure that these decisions are in line with what you believe and the safety of our kids academically and physically.
Yeah. So, guys, I think it's important too for those who have joined us for the first time and, really don't know what we're about, is to tell you like a little bit about Nashville Propel, if you don't mind. The Propel stands for Parents Requiring Our Public Education System to Lead. And that's what we're going to do, y'all. We're on a mission. We organize our parents, we train them, we develop them, we teach them about the landscape of education. We're igniting the movement. We teach parents how to effectively advocate for their children. We're not a parent advocacy group. We are a movement. A movement is about numbers of parents, about together and collaboration and collective leadership. So we're building our parents' power. We are demanding equitable education practices and policies in Nashville, public education, and we can't do that by ourselves. It's going to take all of us. And so what we've been focusing on is our parent manifesto. And our parent manifesto has really like 4 key components. Is that our children that they're assessed for their learning loss, because we know that our children are already behind. Our Black and brown children are already behind. And now with COVID-19 and tornadoes and stuff that we've had here in Nashville, realized that learning stopped in March, and that further increased the learning loss in our children. Now we're past the spring, we're past the summer, and now we have the COVID learning loss, where our children are continuing to experience further learning loss. So we want them assessed, and I believe the district is in process of doing it. I know my son is taking his MAP assessment on September the 15th, beginning at 8:30 in the morning to 11.
Right.
And he's taking it on the 16th, beginning at 8:30 to 11. His teachers called out to me. They explained his whole MAP testing. So I snap out, snap to Liberty Collegiate. They walked me through it. They made sure I understood. They wanted me to know he's going to be out of class early that day. They wanted me to know why. So they called me and had this long conversation. Bless the teacher's heart. She just sounded like she was so nervous. And I'm like, baby, no, you're doing good. You're doing real good. So want to snap it up for them for communicating to me. And what I do realize is a lot of parents have not gotten that type of communication. So I wanted to share that, not to down the district or anybody else, but I think when there's something good going on in another school, then you talk about it, so that why not do it? Like, why not try something that works? So our focus is our individualized learning plans to recover our children. Fully, to put together a plan that has interventions, that has goals, so that our children are recovered. We want to also close the digital divide. It was funny because somebody was on Facebook yesterday talking about how one of their coworkers was unable to use a computer. And I said, I just politely stated, the digital divide is real in our community. When you have grown people who can't, use digital devices, who don't have access, then why do we think that our children are not going to be affected by that? And they have been. And in so much ways of not having a device, or not having access to high-speed internet, and not having the tools they need to be able to navigate through those systems. And then the other thing that we are advocating very hard for is our teachers are trained, and that we have great programming, quality programming, with our virtual learning, that it's meaningful, that it's just not like logging on the computer and it's like looking at YouTube, right? It is meaningful. It is, it's intentional. It's excellent. That's what excellence is about. It's being intentional. and moving towards excellence. So the district has some work to do on that, and they know it, and we appreciate them listening to parents,
Right.
and listening to that and listening to the problems, and hopefully we can fix the issue. The other thing is choice. As you know, we are pro-choice advocates. Like, parents need to have a choice. Now, you got some people that use the word choice with charter. It's a damn lie. That's not what that means. Choice is being able to make a decision that's right for your child. Now, we don't care what that decision is if you make it as an informed decision. You need to be able to make a decision and have everything you need to make that decision, so that it's an educated and informed decision, and you do what's best for your child. And so we want to make sure that parents have a real choice, a meaningful choice with in-person learning versus virtual learning. And if it's not working for them, they need to be able to change things, go to another program, and do whatever they need to do for their children, and not be stuck in a place in virtual learning or in-person learning where it is not good for their child. So did I hit everything, John?
Oh, that was really good. And one thing that we want to do and start to have a conversation towards the middle of this show is really around what choice are you looking at as parents? As we look to, after fall break, make some decisions. I think the district released a press statement and said that, after fall break, they're going to have an option for both. Whatever decision you make is one that you have to stick with for most of the year. I think they'll give you one more opportunity in January once we come back. But after that decision in January, you have to stick with it. And so one thing that we talked about 3 weeks ago was the governor's decision not to release. The great thing happened last week. He said he was going to release it. Monday, Tuesday came, he didn't, and he said he's still going to do it. But as we think about going back in person, I think that's really important as we think about, some of the previous hotspots. Like, what if I'm sending my child to school and the school becomes a hotspot? Like, as a parent, you need to know, because we need to make the best decisions for our kids.
Let's bad back a little bit. I'm not trying to toot no horns or brag, but I must say I have to talk about the work that we do. So what you guys don't know is Nashville Propel, and in collaboration with the Memphis Left, because we both represent the state of Tennessee. We put some pressure on our governor. Y'all might not have known it. We didn't broadcast it. Sometimes you don't broadcast everything. And a lot of times when things are written on a state level, they don't exactly say the organization's name per se. But John represented our organization very well, and used his voice and amplified the voices of you all about the right to have the COVID-19 information per school. So let's say that your child goes to a school here in MNPS or charter school or even a private school. You deserve to know where the hot spots are in those schools so that you can make a decision as to, like, okay, what's really going on here? Parents need to know if there is 1, 2, 3, 4 cases in their school or in schools across town or next door, so that they can know what's going on and make a decision for their kids. So shout out to John, New York Times, the Associated Press, a whole bunch of places that it was written. He represented well. And represented Nashville Propel. So shout out to you, John, and thank you.
All about the teamwork.
So we're a movement, y'all. We're not playing with folk about your kids and our kids either. Hey, James Trimble. Hey, Tarvis. Hey, Joycelyn. Hey, Miss Nance. I ain't gonna forget about you. I gotta shout out my people, John.
Yep. And I see Miss Yadira. We had a one-on-one with her. Thank you for joining in, Miss Calderon. Miss Calderon is not messing around with people, so I look forward to really digging in deeper around how we can support her and her advocacy for her kids.
Wonderful. All right. So what we're gonna talk about first? We got a couple things. We want to stay on this COVID cases, or we want to move on to the next one?
I think it'll be really good. I think because it's coming fast. I think the decision has to be made by September the 15th.
Mhm.
And so I think us talking about in person or remaining virtual as parents think about the next decision.
Yeah, so let's stick a pin right there.
Mm-hmm.
So the district is sending. I got an email today from Hunters Lane about taking a survey as to
Mm-hmm.
whether or not I'm going to choose in person or virtual, continue virtual for my daughter on through December. And so this is the thing, guys. As a parent, again, I'm going to say we believe that parents should be able to make and have to make an informed choice for their children. This is one thing that we know. When Black and brown people don't have a choice, that's a real choice. And we're going to talk about what that means. Then we die. And when I say
Mm-hmm.
that, I know that's harsh, right? But it's true. It's the reality that we live when we don't have a choice, when we don't have a choice to remain silent, when we don't have a choice not to be pulled over by the police, when we don't have a choice of where we send our kids to school or what food we eat, when we don't have a choice for our kids to learn how to read. Like children should be able to learn how to read,
Mm-hmm.
but there are barriers to that happening. That's not a real choice. Just because your child can go to school, right, doesn't mean that they're going to learn anything. Anybody's going to inspire them and invest in. So choice is about decisions. Choice is about having real options. So let's talk about real options, John. In
Mm-hmm.
person versus virtual. So
Yep.
let's start with virtual. That's what we're in right now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about having a real choice with virtual. A real choice with virtual. Let me hear you, John.
Yeah, I think as we think about virtual, and I'll tell you, I have my personal opinions on it. But first and foremost, is I just think about, my son and how we're learning. Like we have to have, access. We have to end the digital divide. So he has to have a laptop. He has to have internet service,
A
and then
working laptop. A working laptop.
a working laptop. And then he just has to have good teaching. And so, just listening to parents and doing one-on-one, some of the things that we heard about was some parents in some schools not getting good teaching, like sitting in the classroom and just kind of hanging out, or sitting in the classroom wanting to learn and no one's being taught because it's just too much going on. And so when we think about virtual learning, we think about like you have to have the bare minimum, like we said, a working laptop, internet, and then like just decent teaching.
Yeah. And so I'm on some of them words you use, John, I just don't like. So I'm gonna say excellence.
Okay.
We got to strive for excellence in everything that we do. And I think that, Propel, that is one of the things that we have said over the last year and a half, the road to excellence, right? And what does that look like? And that's being intentional. And so
Hmm.
what you should be thinking about if you're going to remain in virtual learning is just those things that John named. John named that you have a device that is of quality, meaning
Right.
not kicking you out. You have your internet that is working properly. You have access to support, which the district
Hmm.
has set up these different locations for
Technology centers, you're right.
technology centers that you have. And when I say support, that you have immediate support, meaning you don't want to go 24 and 48 hours without having, being able to reach out to somebody. So you want to make
Mhm.
sure you have those things in place, and you want to have meaningful learning. So parents, you have to decide what is meaningful learning. And the other thing that we have not said is you've got to have information about safety. So a lot of our parents, Black and brown parents, that's who we represent. We represent Black and brown parents because that's who we know to represent. We are people in our communities when we represent you. A lot of parents want to make sure that it's safe and they don't feel that it's safe. So I'm going to tell you something. You should have the option to remain in virtual school if you don't feel like it's safe, meaning you don't have enough COVID data.
Hmm.
You don't have the plan that you need to know, like, what if I do send my child to school, what's the plan? And right now you may not have those things. And so if you choose to keep the virtual option, then you should have the things that John was just
talking about.
And you should advocate for those things and fight for those things, and not base your decision to send your children in person because you don't have those things. You have the right to have the device. You have the right to have the meaningful learning instruction, and remain in virtual if that's what you choose to do. Don't want to encourage parents to make decision off of low quality virtual learning and send their children into a landmine of COVID. Don't do it. Demand what you want for your child. And if you want to feel safe and keep your child at home, damn it, that's what needs to be happening. So don't let the scare of virtual learning not being what you think it should be force you into a building. We got to stand up for stuff, y'all. And not having those things it means you really don't have a choice. That's not a real choice. So you need to demand a choice, the real choice that you want to have for your child. So if you want to keep your child at home, demand the things that you need to make sure that they have virtual learning.
Yep. And one interesting thing is we get ready to go. I want to see, I've been following this story. I think a lot of our local teachers union has been leading caravans and doing actions that just say, they have a thing with, they don't want to go back into the classrooms until, I want to say the COVID cases are less than or equal to 1. I think it was some to that nature. Right.
How do you know? How do you know that? How do you make a choice? And I'm not for or against in person or virtual, because that is a parent's decision. Yep. What I am for is you having the information you need to make a decision. And the question is, John, how do they know?
Right. Those are good questions.
How do you, as a parent, know whether virtual or in person is a choice? Have the information. These are the questions that you have to ask. And so what we want to do is teach you how to effectively ask for the information and effectively advocate for your children. Don't just run and say, I'm going to do one or the other and not have the information you need.
Yeah, and that's going to be interesting when we have Christian Bucks come on. Just as they think about and supporting the director, what does that look like with the questions? I know right now they're looking to do a phase-in model of some of our kids with IEPs. We heard loud and clear elementary kids, I think K to 2, those are parents who are really looking for in person. But again, like looking for in person, like what does that mean? Like we want to make sure they're not just getting their kids back in school and it's not safe. I know we talked about the bus drivers who were, delivering food. Some of the bus drivers started to catch COVID and they had to self-quarantine. But what does that look like in a school that catches it?
What does it look like with procedures for making sure that the bus drivers don't expose them? Parents, question everything, question everybody. There you find your truth. Question everything, question everybody, question everything, question everybody. There you find the truth. I'm going to say it one more time. Question everything and question everybody. There you find the truth. Period.
Yep.
Live by, die by.
Yep. And one thing that they talked about at the board meeting last night, and it's something that we haven't had, I want to say since February the 12th of this year, and we get it, like it's COVID, but we haven't had the opportunity for public comment. So the opportunity from parents to come across from around the city to express how they feel, just so the district can get a real balanced view of how parents in different communities feel. And one thing I heard them talk about yesterday is being creative and looking at how the Metro Council did it to offer opportunities for public comment, just so they can hear directly from the parents who would be affected by these decisions.
And I hope that's what they do, because things disproportionately affect our community more so than they do other communities. And people don't want to hear that, right? They don't want to hear, things happen, Black people, white people, like, wake the hell up. Like, things disproportionately, COVID-19 disproportionately affects Black and brown people more than it does Caucasian people. It just does. I mean, it ain't no lie. Ain't nobody making the stuff up. We know it does. And so we have to have a balance, like you said, John, of the voice. This district is made up of more Black and brown children. And I don't know the percentages. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it is a district of Black and brown children. And so a lot of decisions have to take that into account. All of the decisions have to take that into account. And I think that is the reason why this district has struggled over the decades, because it has listened to the voice of those who have been more affluent, who do not experience the issues that we experience. And so therefore we become the unheard voices, and we get the bottom of the barrel. We get the bad at the end of the stick. And so you got to look at your audience. You got to look at who it mainly affects. And I think if they did that, it still would cover an abundance of everybody, right? When you look at like the way that the equity is imbalanced. Well, if you take those who it affects the most and you make it equitable, why wouldn't it be equitable for all?
Simple questions that need simple answers.
Look at my face, because somebody mean.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why I can answer that. Because this system has worked for those people, and it hasn't worked for us. And there's never been a Nashville Propel. And so here we are, igniting the movement. And we're going well.
And I'm going to tell you what a lot of parents are going through. I mean, just, again, these one-on-ones and listening to parents and being very direct. We did a speaker series, I want to say, last Monday, and we did it with Miss Sonia Dobbs. And so talking to a parent the very next day, just getting feedback like, hey, like, what did you think about it? I mean, this parent was just like, this is what I've been looking for. She talked about her struggles, but she also talked about she feeling alone. And as I'm listening to her, I'm like, you're not alone. Like, this is something that all parents go through, but the connections that we make is bringing all the parents together so they don't feel like, because when Sonia says something or another parent says something, you listen, you be like, that's happening to me. We start to realize these are issues that we need to tackle.
Yeah. Miss Yvonne Johnson, thank you for joining us. She said this district has a high percentage of underperforming Black and brown children, especially in 37208. And I would say, I want to rephrase that. And thank you for bringing it up. We have underperforming schools. This is what I know about children. This is what I know about people. People and children are not failures. People and children are not failures. Systems fail. Systems are failures. People fail, but they're not failures. Systems are failures. And we have a system failure. And so, yes, and especially 37208, 37207, 37115. Those are the most hardest hit zip codes. And if you live in those zip codes, you're in trouble. You are in trouble. And those are the people that we are sounding the alarm for.
And so how do you think we get this information out? So September 15th, I want to say that is next Tuesday. And by next Tuesday, parents have to make a decision. And as we were reading the release earlier today, I think what it says is make a decision, but if you don't give your decision, they're gonna default to you coming in person. And so with that, like we have had people who have received truancy letters. I know a couple of parents reached out to us and sent us the letters. And so truancy, even in virtual. So as we think about people who don't respond and then they're expected to be at school, I guess this truancy letter thing is going to double or triple.
So there's a couple of things I want to say about that. So before we get to the truancy, because I think that's a whole nother segment. First of all, we're going to reach out to the district because September the 15th is just too fast. It's a short week. I just got my email today. And I got questions after questions. First of all, Governor Lee has said that he's not going to release the school data information until September the 22nd. So that's after we're required to submit our survey, right? And so my request would be to the district if we could get that information, because I personally want to see what's going on across the state of Tennessee. How many cases have they had in their schools based on the plans that they've put out? Because maybe there's some revising of what we need to do based on what's going on in other districts. So I would love for us to reach out to Dr. Battle's team and just, make that request on behalf of parents to make sure that they can make informed decisions. And the data may not be what we, it may not be that there are more cases, but how the hell do you know if you don't see it? Like, I don't like making permanent decisions based off of temporary information. And right now we just don't have. We don't have.
Yeah. And if history repeats itself, when we left phase 2, I want to say that was back in late April or May, then we had a respike. And if you looked at downtown this past weekend, I mean, all I seen was different news stations on live just showing the people. And so what if it comes back? And I also remember in May or April, a lot of the hot spots, as we would say, where coronavirus was most prevalent was in like Southeast Nashville in places where there's poverty. And so what changes if that trend comes back around and we don't know which schools are highly affected? I mean, it's kind of dangerous, but also I think the legislature passed a bill that essentially said like school districts, companies, organizations can be liable if there's an outbreak.
Yeah. Things that, so Tasha Baker, hey, Tasha says, I am concerned about how this will work virtual and in school, because I feel like virtual kids will be left out. And so that is a valid concern, Tasha. But I want to put this right here. Safety is first. Be safe first. Be informed. And so, yes, we need to know virtual versus in person. How does that look? Are parents going to still be on the Florida virtual learning? I mean, children are going to be on the Florida virtual learning when they go in person. Do parents think they're going to get something different? We don't know. We got to ask. And so before you make that decision, you have a lot of questions. So this is my advice. Those concerns, take out a piece of paper, write it down, what you're concerned about. Then I want you to start to ask the questions, question everything, question everybody. Then I want you to reach out to us, Tasha. We're going to send those questions. We've started compiling questions, but I want to see if there are different questions that we need to send to the district and ask questions. Tasha says we're actually still in modified phase 2. We are also entering into flu season as well. I don't see this fall going good for these babies. And those are valid concerns, Tasha. As a former healthcare professional, I don't think we know enough about this virus. That keeps me awake, We just don't know. And so we got a lot of questions. John, I wonder, do we get a physician on here next week?
Yeah, like somebody who's studying this overall is looking at the numbers and looking at not just Nashville, but similar cities that have populations and racial backgrounds. How are they doing?
Yeah, because I've heard a lot of people talk about pediatricians are saying that children need to go back to school. Yes, they do. Guess what I'm saying? Children need to go back to school. The question is it safe to send them back to school? Pediatricians have not said that. They said that children belong in school. They belong in school. Yes, they recommended that they go to school, but also the clause is if it's safe. So we cannot throw away all parts of what the American Pediatric Association is saying.
Yeah.
We got to quote it all. And the pediatrician did not say run your kids up in the building and get COVID-19. If there's no, they didn't say that. They said that children need to be at school socially, emotionally. They need to be learning. Nobody's refuting that. But they also said it needs to be safe. The question is, what does safe look like?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys remember, and I think the district did a really good job. You know, they wanted to honor kids and make sure the kids who were graduating had a chance to get a diploma and go through the process. And they kept it socially distanced. I mean, they made sure kids stayed in the car when they were on school property. They had the gloves on, the mask. They did the 6 foot pictures. Soon as they got off school property, do you remember what happened, Sonia? Because kids are gonna be kids.
Because their kids gonna be kids.
Right, kids gonna be kids.
Mm-hmm. And so, John, I think this is a good time to change, go into the next segment, talking about the truancy letters.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. And so one thing that we were hearing from some of our organizers, they were sending us screenshots of parents who were getting truancy letters. One parent was like, I don't know what's going on. Their kid has been logged on. And so it was a little bit of fear. They didn't know what it meant, but also they were looking to hear, like, what should they do next? Like, what does it mean?
Yeah, so I looked at these truancy letters. So there is a state law. I'm pulling it up right now. Let me pull it up. It is T.C.A 49-6-3001, school age. C1, every parent, guardian, or other person residing within this state having control or charge of any child or children between 6 years of age and 17 years of age, both inclusive, shall cause such child or children to attend public or non-public school, and in the event of failure to do so, shall be subject to penalties hereinafter provided. The courts have ruled that the word inclusive required the child to attend school until the day before his or her 18th birthday. That is Tennessee state law. Let's talk about these truancy letters. Let's talk about parents, as John just said, that we've been talking to, who have mainly had difficulty, sounds like, logging on, some of them. And then we're hearing that there are children that the district can't find. They can't locate it, meaning they've never logged into school. They have not unenrolled from school, from Metro public schools. Therefore, they're considered truants, violating the truancy law. So, I mean, we can talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it was a report that came out that initially said it was 35 or 3,600. They cut that number in half, and I think re-released the report, and it was around, I want to say 1,405 students who didn't log on. So, of course, those were some of the first students or families who got truancy letters, but there are also a whole host of parents who some were logging on. I guess they were not counted. And I guess some, if you have spotty internet and not access to the internet, you won't be logging on. One parent, which broke my heart, she couldn't get the hotspot from the school. And so she was going to Best Buy. And from Best Buy, she was paying, I want to say, $75 for 5 gigs. And so, of course, she couldn't get online every day.
Mhm. And so it's my assumption is that, and also I've been told this, that when you log into Schoology, it automatically captures your attendance. And so one of the problems that I'm seeing is that if you're not able to log on, then you're not counted. So if your internet, like John said, stops working, you're off 24 to 48 hours. That's 1 or 2 days of school missed, right? And so the question is, what do you do if that happens? And I have a parent testimonial here that says her kindergarten was absent. It said that the child was absent 6 days. They called the school, emailed the teacher, let them know, and was told that the child was not logging on. But the parent is saying that is correct. So, so this is what I am recommending that you guys do, that you appeal these truancy letters. The other thing is, baby, get receipts. Start taking a picture every day.
Yeah. Yep.
Y'all gotta fight for your children. You got to fight like hell. You can't take no for an answer. You can't let somebody just send you a truancy letter and you know your children are logged in. But also you need to make sure that you got receipts. And you can't trust a Schoology. Obviously, if you're saying that the child is logged in, but you're still getting notices that they're absent, then you have to escalate quickly, because we have a system failure. It sounds like a potential system failure. We also have what it seems like the district is maybe having trouble identifying who they've lost. And who's not enrolled. And so that's 2 different issues.
Yeah. And one thing that we'll talk about also at the end, I got to find the list. One thing the district, in response to a press conference and a press release, they put up, I think, technology centers. I know it's been at Jerry Baxter, Tusculum, and I'm going to get the next 3. Donaldson. And so that's also an opportunity if you are struggling and you can't get online. Again, I saw somebody put on Channel 5. They ran that story on Channel 5 when they were going to Best Buy, and then Torvis put it was $75 every 2 weeks, which is a lot.
$75 for what?
$75 every 2 weeks for the hot spots from Best Buy.
Who doing that?
We spoke to a parent. She was, she couldn't go to the district, I think, ran out. So she was like, okay, I got to log on. And so now in response to that, the district has set up these technology places around to make sure that doesn't happen. But I need to post that article.
Yeah, we need to reach out to her and make sure she get over and get one. If she can't, she need to call us.
Yep.
Then we need to get one, because that's just freaking, that makes me want to cuss. That is ridiculous, because don't nobody have no time for that, money for that. I spoke to that parent too. Yeah, that's crazy. Anywho, I'm really concerned though that these truancy letters, parents that make sure that you guys are reaching out and appealing that. And I think, John, what we need to do is figure out how people appeal that. And maybe post something. Because truancy, take it serious. It's a legal matter. They've made it a law, and it's a state law, not necessarily a district law, but the district has to follow that law. And what you don't want to do is end up in court.
You don't want to be summoned to court.
Yeah, because I done heard some people say, take me to court. Let me tell y'all something. Black folk don't do good in court. Don't play with court. You can be hard all you want to. We don't do good in court, so don't go to court. There should be an appeals process prior to that. Don't let your life get out of focus so much with that with going to court. Let's see what the appeals is for that so that you can refute and challenge those absences. And then if we've got enough parents, then we need to just do this on another level of appealing this. A lot of the state laws have been changed during this COVID time, and sounds like there needs to be some type of revision based on, the issues. The district has had issues with logging on. So how are parents mandated under that law if there's an issue at the district level too?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make sense. So it sounds like, the district needs to help us with this. And they need to decipher the difference between the two.
Yep.
There is a truancy. There are some people that may be in truancy, or maybe the tracking of enrollment is inaccurate,
Mm-hmm.
or and maybe those parents did not unenroll their children properly.
Yeah. I saw some really beautiful, and I know they need help, but yesterday, just scrolling through Facebook, it's a pastor, Bishop Marcus Campbell, at his church, Mount Carmel, is in North Nashville, a neighborhood that has its challenges. I think those kids are zoned to Buena Vista. Well, they're zoned to it's not Buena Vista now. It's Jones Padilla or Jones Elementary. And they had to set up a virtual school in the church because those parents didn't have access to internet. And so as you looked, you saw close to 30, 40 kids. What if those kids wouldn't have had access to the church and able to come on and get online, and not just get online, but get support? Because I saw a lot of elementary students. I saw some middle school, but it was mostly elementary. So as you think about it, like, these kids need support, not just getting on, but helping with the actual assignments. And so do we need more of that?
And you know what? Shout out to Bishop Campbell.
Yeah.
And now I'm getting ready to say it because it's in my spirit. Where are these other pastors? You got one pastor that said you can pull up in the parking lot and use their Wi-Fi, knowing the whole school year we've been seeing that there's not enough Wi-Fi. Now you're going to get on TV and say you can get in the parking lot. So you're not even good enough to come in the building. And then you got a pastor such as Bishop Campbell, who has a smaller congregation in a more struggling community, inviting us into his building. Pastors, where are you? I need y'all to like, and I need y'all to share this right now. When are the Martin Luther Kings going to step up in our community and stop being system protectors and actually fight for the people that the system is not protecting? Mm-hmm. When the real pastors going to please step up? Please step up. Please step up. Where the Martin Luther Kings at? Where they at? Because over here, who am I, John? You said I was. I forgot her name. Fannie Lou.
Fannie Lou Hamer. Yeah. Or Ella Baker.
Right over here. But I need the pastors in this city to step up and stop protecting the system that does not protect your congregants. Yeah. And I need for you to fight for the people that you're actually ministering to.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And we'll put it out there. And if Bishop Campbell is listening, maybe we'll bring him on just to talk about the program. But look him up on Facebook. They need more volunteers. I'm going to try to go out there and volunteer one day this week or early next week. But this is the real work. These are the kids that are being left behind, and we can do more for right here. They're in one building. They attend a low performing school, and so they need the support.
Mm-hmm. Right. We done hit all them things.
Yep.
So fill out your survey.
Yep.
Fill out your survey informed. If you don't have enough information, please inbox us. Meaning, you don't know what the safety plan is. You don't know what the difference is going to be between virtual and in person. You don't know how the district is going to hold employees accountable for staying safe. Because if they're going to be transporting and teaching children, they've got to have certain restrictions, lifestyle restrictions. Mm-hmm. You can't have no cookout with everybody and come in and teach my children in person. Hell to the no. And you can't be untrained how to do virtual learning and not be productive there either. Mm-hmm. So you need to be asking questions. and you need to get answers, and you have the right. Stop letting people string you along. Ask the hard questions. Protect your children. Protect your asset. Who cares if you ask questions? Ask them. Get your piece of paper out. Ask every question you want to ask. And you know what? Every last one of those questions deserve an answer. It's a life and death situation. Whether your children are not learning, it's a life and death. And COVID-19, it's life and death. Those things are like, they're both. In person is life and death. Virtual is life and death.
And this is the survey right here on MMPS's site. So the district is preparing the students to return face-to-face. And then the site is mmps.org/back to school.
Okay. So make sure you guys complete that survey. Make sure you tell your friends and your families to complete that survey informed. Don't you complete that survey uninformed. Now I'm turning into Sonya the mom now. Complete that survey with questions. You need to be reaching out to that school principal. I'm going to reach out to Sue Kessler. I am going to reach out to Sue Kessler. I got questions. I'm going to reach out to Dr. Battle. I have questions. Because right now I do have a child that wants to go back into in person. But guess what I told her? We're going to get our questions answered. We're going to get our questions answered before we make a decision. And I feel rushed because I want to know what the state of Tennessee knows. And what Governor Lee has been hiding and was forced. She's being forced. And he's only saying they're only going to report up to 5 cases. So we still got some work to do. So if the school has 5 cases or less, then they're saying they're not going to give that. And I'm like, one infected person can infect hundreds of people.
Yeah.
We got to stop taking what people give us. So now we're supposed to be quiet because you're going to report a little bit. Nope, I deserve to know it all, just like everybody else. Stop keeping secrets.
And then another place I see Liz Lyons said the Dream Center. I think the Dream Center is located in the Preston Taylor community, which is connected to, I want to say Cockrell, McKissick, and Pearl Cone. And so check the Dream Center out too. Again, it just offers the ability for your kids to get internet access inside in a safe way.
And Liz, ask questions about their plans too. Taking them to the YMCA, when you're taking them to the Dream Center, when you're taking them to churches. Guys, I know we got to go to work. I know we got things we got to do. But I don't want to bury no children. And I done talked to mamas that done had their children in Vandy pediatric unit. And I don't want to see any of your children, period, whether in person or virtual. Make sure we're monitoring our lifestyle. Make sure we're wearing our masks. Make sure that whatever we're doing, that we are cognizant of that, because it's kind of easy to do it, right? Like you have people over and you look at them, they look okay. I done made that mistake. I went and got me a COVID-19 test.
Me too.
John has had one. Because you lose sight and you lose focus. You're so glad to see everybody. I'm just being real while we're closing it out. You know, I done had company and I took my mask off because I'm so glad to see them. They look okay. I'm a healthcare professional. I done the silly stuff.
But they look okay.
I done had to go back and refocus, and I had to get tested. And thank God I'm negative and everything is okay. But we got to stay focused. We don't know what this virus is going to do. We don't know. We just don't know enough yet.
Well, this has been good. I mean, we've gone over, but I think next week, let us know some of the things that you want to talk about. Let us know some of the things that we need to look into, because again, this is a parent movement. And so the more that we hear from you guys, the more we're talking to parents, the more we know.
All right.
Let
us know too if you ain't heard from your school.
By
tomorrow, inbox us. If you hadn't heard from the school, something is wrong. I just got mine today. It's Wednesday. It's due when?
It's the 15th, which is this upcoming Tuesday.
I got questions.
All
right.
All right. Thank you, guys. See you next week.
One love.